Good morning, everyone. This week's Torah portion begins, this is the story of the offspring of Isaac, the son of Abraham. So this week's Torah portion is all about the second patriarch, Yitzchak, Isaac. And we find something unique about Isaac. And that is that Isaac is the only patriarch who has one consistent name. You see, Avram was given the letter Hey, and he became Avraham. Yaakov, after he wrestled with the angel, was given the name Yisrael, Israel. But Isaac was born with the name Isaac, and he lived his whole life with the same name, without any name change. Furthermore, Isaac is the only one whose name was given by God, because God told Abraham and Sarah when they laughed at the news that in their old age they're going to have a child, God says you should call him Isaac. Why? Because you laughed at the news. And another aspect of Isaac's name that's unique is that Isaac is the only one that is future tense. Yitzchak. You will laugh. It's not just that you laughed, but in the future you will laugh. And the explanation is that Abraham and Sarah lived with a great tension in their life. We have no heir, we have no continuity, we have no child. Who will carry on our life's mission and legacy? And then that tension was resolved with God's promise and deliverance of a child. And suddenly, like that anxiety turned into a burst of laughter and joy. And therefore God says, this child represents the story of the Jewish people in every generation. That there will be this fear, this doubt perhaps, this worry, this dread, but then it will be transformed into a great, joyous, abundant laughter. And this happened not just once in Isaac's life, but twice. Because when he was taken to the binding, as God instructed Abraham, once again Abraham must have thought, what's going to happen if I sacrifice my only son? But then the angel says, don't touch the lad. And once again, Isaac and Abraham walk away from the binding of Isaac, and their fear was transformed into joy and laughter. And this is the Jewish people's story in every generation. Yitzchak, we will always laugh. At the end, our anxiety and our fears will be transformed into joyous laughter. And because it follows the threat and the danger and the fear, it will be a more joyous laughter than ever. And the same thing is true in our current situation. We have faith and confidence this will end with great joy and salvation. I heard a story this Shabbat from a guest who was visiting from New York, a first-hand account about his own cousin. His cousin lives in New York. He's a very Hasidic Jew, Hasidic family. But they have a daughter who, as a teenager, started to drift away from Judaism and completely left the fold. Stopped observing anything. And the family tried to talk to her, to convince her to come back to observance, but she refused. This year, one of her sisters, this young lady's now 20, convinced her, said, at least Yom Kippur, come to shul, observe one day Yom Kippur, the holiest day, and fast. And succeeded in convincing her to do that. And sure enough, she came home and observed the entire Yom Kippur with the family, went to shul and fasted for the first time in many years. After Yom Kippur, she turns on her phone and she sees she has like 6 missed calls from her bank. This year Yom Kippur was on a Monday. So the next morning she calls her bank and says, I see you've been trying to reach me all day. I was off the phone. It was Yom Kippur. Why were you calling? And they said, well, a wire transfer came through for all of your funds, which was everything she had saved up, about $10,000. And we were calling you to just verify to make sure everything's okay. It seemed a little unusual, but we couldn't reach you. We tried you again and again, and everything in the wire was legitimate. It had all the right numbers and codes, and so we just went ahead and transferred out all the money. The woman said, it wasn't me. It was a fraud. It was an ID, a theft. Somebody stole my identity. The bank said, well, we're going to have to start a process to see if we could retrieve it. The girl was so angry. She said, here I keep Yom Kippur for the first time in years. I go to shul, I pray, I fast, and this is what God does, empties out my bank account. And she was particularly upset because she was saving this money for over a year because she wanted to go on a very special trip that she was planning on going on 2 weeks after Yom Kippur. And now she had to cancel her trip because she had no funds to travel. Where was she traveling to 2 weeks after Yom Kippur, she was planning on traveling to Israel. And why was she planning on going to Israel? Because she wanted to attend the Nova Music Festival in the south on Simchat Torah. And when Simchat Torah came and she heard the tragic news of the murder of 260 people at the Nova Film Festival, she realized and said, oh my, Hashem literally saved my life by having my funds removed from my account on Yom Kippur as I was praying. For a year of life, I was granted it, and I couldn't attend and I couldn't be there. Now in hindsight, I understand what had happened and that I experienced a miracle and God saved my life. And now this girl is so shaken by this experience that she is slowly returning to Hashem, to Torah, to observance, and to her family. Sometimes we cannot understand God's ways, and we may question, we may fear, we may have a sense of doubt and anxiety. What will be the outcome? But God promises us with the name Yitzchak, you shall laugh, you shall rejoice. Better days, happier days will come. And the promise of God that the Jewish people will be a nation that will always celebrate life will carry on as it always did from the birth of Isaac until today. Have a wonderful day.